Hey, friends. Welcome back to the Higher Grade Help Podcast, the place where we talk about building strong teams, sustainable businesses, and systems that actually work for you, not just your clients. If you caught our bonus episode, Breaking Free from Delivery Deficits to Scale Without Burnout, you're not alone. It quickly became the most downloaded episode we've ever released, and that tells me something important. You're ready to scale, but you're also done with the hustle hamster wheel. I get it. Same here. But let's talk about what's happening in the real world right now. Tariffs are increasing, supply chains are shaky, and prices on everything from shipping to software are creeping up. It's tempting to just keep your head down and keep delivering, but if you don't adapt now, your margins and your energy could pay the price. So stick with me. So what exactly is going on with tariffs and trade? In short, the U.S. has announced or increased tariffs on imports from several countries. You could say all of them, but especially China. And that means materials, packaging, and even tech tools are more expensive for businesses, even if you don't directly deal in products. Remember this, your vendors do, your platforms do, and those costs often trickle down to you. I attended Inc. Magazine's Founders House today in Philadelphia, and let me tell you something, it was amazing. I did not stay for the entire event. I was there for like the first 2 hours, but that event really gave me insight into how some of the most successful CEOs and founders right now are navigating their particular companies. You had people in the building such as the CEO of Honeygrow was there, which was really cool. Big Honeygrow fan. Justin Rosenberg, he was there. Baba Viviera, who's the founder and CEO of Ceremonia, was there. Sarah Yu, the founder of Blue Land. And they talked pretty extensively about the tariffs and how unexpected costs were affecting their production and their supply chains, like within their business, and how most of their products are created here in the United States. However, the ingredients in those products, like it could be the glass case, right, that a particular hair care product comes in, or a cleaning product is created, like, and there's like a certain packaging box they use for it, right? And like some of those materials come from other countries. So like Latin America, some of those items come from Canada. And so the founders were just explaining how the tariffs kind of caught them by surprise because they didn't realize some of their ingredients. Like the CEO of Honeygrow, he mentioned how you can't get avocados and bananas from Jersey, right? Like they have to get imported from another place. So those unexpected costs definitely affect their bottom lines. And I thought that was so insightful because us as smaller, like CEOs and founders of smaller companies, sometimes we don't always take into account how our services or our products require the input or the imports or exports from other places, from outside locations outside the United States, right? Let's be honest, like not a ton of things are manufactured in the United States. So tariffs are bound to impact and hit pretty much everyone if we're just being honest. So, yeah, that was just really insightful today, going to that event. And I was very happy that I was able to attend. Shout out to Inc. Magazine for putting that event on in the city. It was great. And so that just kind of inspired me to do this episode today where, I want you to explore your margins. So let's talk about it, right? The result of these different administrative changes is what? Service-based businesses are seeing tighter margins, and product-based businesses are feeling the pinch on both ends. They're experiencing higher costs and longer delays, and that was confirmed today by some of those founders that I just mentioned who were on the panel at the Inc. Founders House event. So let's talk about what that means for your service-based business. You, at this point, could be experiencing what I call a delivery profit disconnect, right? A lot of business owners are operating on yesterday's pricing, but today's cost of doing business is way higher. And that means you're working harder for less. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a fan of passing on higher costs to your customers. I just think, I don't know, call it my giving heart or whatever it is. But I just think it's really unethical when companies consistently just pass all of the costs they experience on to their customers. They don't eat any of the costs or any of the risks. I understand business is made for profit. I've had several businesses. I understand what the purpose of it is. But I don't think the best strategic move is for you to instantly pass cost on to your customers just because you're feeling a pinch, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense. However, here on the Higher Grade Health Podcast, we have always talked about removing you from being the first point of contact for clients when you are the founder, when you are the face of the brand, when you are the CEO, the owner, or the creator, right? We had to get you out of a position where you are the person who is doing all of the client-facing work. You cannot be the first point of contact. We want to remove you from the day-to-day operations. That is the point. That's what we're doing here, right? So if you're now, if you're still, or let me say it this way, if you are still in a position where you're on the front lines, you are still the person booking calls, talking to clients, wearing all the hats, doing all the work, and you're now working harder to make less money, that is a pure recipe for burnout. So maybe you're offering high-touch services without revisiting the cost of your time, your software, or your team. Or maybe you're shipping a physical product that used to cost $5 to package, but now it's $7.50 to package. Those small increases in your time, in your energy, in your software, your team, and your pricing add up really fast. Small increases add up fast. And here's the dangerous part. Many business owners try to compensate by doing more, right? More deliverables, more bonuses, faster turnaround, and that's a fast track to burnout. I've always spoken against that here on this podcast. I want you to experience time freedom while you're earning a comfortable. It doesn't even have to be significant. Yeah, that's the goal. You want to have growth. You want to experience, lucrative months, income you've never earned before. Sure, that's the goal. But that's another thing I took away from the Inc. Founders House event today, is that a lot of the founders there, as a matter of fact, there was a panel where they talked to health tech founders. And I'll name a few. So you had Vitalize Health, Amir Al-Najjar was there. Amazing panel. I think his company did like $4 billion in 1 year. And he was named Inc.'s business of the year, I think in 2024. So he was on the panel, and Fullenwider, the CEO of Alloy Women's Health, who's championing women in menopause and the health care that they need to receive. I think she said something like less than 4% of women who are experiencing menopause actually receive the care they need. So that was eye-opening. And then Brigham Hyde from Atropos Health was also there. And that particular panel talked about what it felt like to experience hyper growth and how a business can only go through growth. I mean, think about it. You have a company that does $4 billion in 1 year, right? That's probably phenomenal. You celebrate it. You could never imagine you would hit that. But that hyper growth where you keep growing. And actually the CEO of Honeygrow talked about this too, where if you keep growing and growing, eventually you have to pull back. It's okay, we've done the growth. We've accomplished that. Now we need to sustain, right? Or we're going to go out of business from so much growth. Too much growth can put you out of business. That's a real thing. And it was refreshing to listen to the founders talk about that, how too much growth can put you out of business. And I've heard other business coaches and people in this online coaching space talk about that before too. But growth is the goal for so many people, but you don't realize that hyper growth is a recipe for closing your doors. So sometimes we go into this mode where if we just overcompensate and we do more while we're earning less as CEOs, somehow we equate that to it's going to trigger like our hyper growth, but it's not. It's actually the opposite. That's a fast track to burnout. And you want to keep in mind, like, your business, it's like a child, right? It should go through healthy phases. It should go through healthy phases of growth, of sustainability, of maintenance. Sometimes you want to pull back because you need to refine, you need to reflect. So I'm just trying to pull you into, the mindset of some of the things that I learned from the panels today. It was very refreshing. And that was one of the main things. So what can you actually do if you find yourself, overcompensating, right? By delivering more, but you're earning less because your customers are feeling the pinch of the tariffs, of the increased prices, of the increased groceries, whatever it is, right? So what can you actually do? And this is something I found really since, I wouldn't even say since COVID. I would say since before the pandemic. Truthfully, I've walked clients through this process where auditing your pricing and your packaging is typically like first on the list. And within my signature program, Exponential, this is the process that we go through. It is the first thing you go through once you've been onboarded and once you understand how the program itself works. Immediately, we go into auditing your pricing and your packaging because you have to do that ever so often to continue to make sure that the product that you've found market fit with still serves like the purpose that you have for the business. So if you are in a growth phase, your pricing and your packaging needs to fit that. If you're in a sustainability phase, your pricing and your packaging needs to fit that. If you're on a path where you're pulling back a little bit because you want to refine, you want to restructure, you want to rework your business model, you've achieved like a solid customer base and you're not so much as focused on brand awareness anymore, but you're trying to take your existing customers like to a higher level. Maybe you have a referral network. Maybe you have a fan base where you have a segment of your customers who are referring consistent new clients to you, and now you're working with that. So depending on like where you are in the business, which one of the 4 phases of business you're in, it makes sense. It makes sense in each phase. And I would even say multiple times a year to rework your pricing and your packaging. This is the first thing we do when you come inside of my coaching program. So first things first, right now, I'm going to preach what I've always preached to my clients. Audit your pricing and your packaging. Ask yourself, is this still profitable given the real cost of delivery? Write that down. Is this still profitable given the real cost of delivery? Okay. Second, look at your delegation strategy. Are you outsourcing tasks that take too much time, cost too much, or don't actually move the needle? And I would even suggest that you scratch some of that. So if it costs too much for you to implement it and it's not contributing to your bottom line, can you exit right now? Can you cut that task out of your workload, period? Or if it's a task or a project that's not actually moving the needle, can you get rid of it momentarily? If not, and it's a part of your operations that you need to keep your doors open, maybe it's time to train a team member instead of hiring another contractor. Can you delegate it to an existing team member so it does not cost your bottom line more expenses? Next, build in buffer time and communicate delivery expectations. Okay, unpredictable times, such as the ones we live in, require flexible delivery systems. You need flexibility, okay? So build in buffer time, communicate delivery expectations to your clients, to your vendors, to your partners, and make sure that you are baking in flexibility in your delivery systems right now. Because day to day, we do not know what's going to be announced in the news. We don't know what's coming. We don't know what's going to happen. And a lot of us kind of have that feeling of like impending doom. I know you've like maybe seen that on TikTok or whatever. We just don't know what's happening. We just don't know what's coming. And you need to be upfront with everyone who has a hand in your business just to say, listen, flexibility is imperative right now. Also, as always, consider automation. If you're still manually onboarding clients, what are we doing? If you're still manually sending voices, why? If you're still manually following up with people, stop, please. You need your time for strategy, not clicking buttons. And finally, if your business is growing and you're maxed out, don't wait until you're exhausted to get help, okay? Hire for capacity, not just emergencies. Very important that I say that. Reach out to my company. We have resources for that. We can help you go through the process. We can help you add a team member to your organization. Reach out to us if you need help hiring for capacity, not just emergencies. Or if you do want to go through our coaching program to refine your business model, your pricing, your packaging, if you want to refine, for your marketing and for where you currently stand in the marketplace, we can help you with that as well. One more thing I want to mention. I want to leave you with this. Tough economies don't have to break your business. They can shape a stronger one, and the pandemic proved that to us. So instead of slashing your prices or hiking your prices and pricing your customers out or ghosting your clients out of overwhelm, lean into your systems. Focus on retaining your best clients by offering consistent value and stable delivery. Protect your margins now, and you'll scale from strength, not survival. Okay, here's the takeaway from this episode. The economy is shifting, okay, in a big way, but you don't have to burn out trying to keep up. Revisit your pricing, refine your systems, delegate smart, and always build with profit and peace in mind. You know I was going to say that. If this episode hit home, share it with another business owner navigating change right now. And if you're ready to build or optimize a team that helps you scale sustainably, reach out. I'd love to support you. Until next time, keep leading with purpose and building with power. I'll see you for the next episode.